Live on WFLA now, this is Hey JB. Here's JB Biunno.
The immensely complicated legal situation surrounding the Titan submersible tragedy, leading to questions that we are going to attempt to tackle here this afternoon on WFLA Now. We're live in the WFLA Now Stream Center to answer as many questions as we can from you, our audience, wherever you are watching from, to look at how this all unfolds now going forward. Welcome back, folks, to our ongoing streaming coverage of the Titan submersible tragedy, of course, in the North Atlantic, following the aftermath, now that we know that the 5 people on board the Titan sub are presumed dead. Let's bring in our 2 special guests, and now being added to our special guest panel. Peter Tragos, the lawyer you know. Mark Martin has been on stream with us for hours over the course of the last 36 hours, a retired U.S. Navy submariner. And we'll get his hashtag fixed because he is hashtag hey Mark, but hashtag lawyer you know. See, Mark, he is, of course, he's got the brand going with lawyer you know, so he gets the special hashtag there.
Hey, like I said, it doesn't matter if they hashtag me. I can't figure out how to get to it anyway. So.
There, you know what? That is a refreshing part of having you on stream, Mark. We'll bring it back into the conversation here in just a second. I just want to bring in Peter here for the first time. Peter, you're paying close attention to this. There have been a lot of legal questions in our comment section, and people asking exactly are lawsuits inevitable? Regulations, how are those going to be presented? Also, too, how we have this now with multiple nations involved, the UK, Canada, the United States, France, a lot of different moving parts here. Good afternoon to you. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing great, man. Thanks for having me. And while Mark might not know how to find the hashtags, he'll get to places we could never dream of finding.
I like that.
And I think that's kind of where we can start this discussion, is just the community of people that explore and find things and innovate. It's really important. We should want that as a society, but we need to do it the right way, and we need to be careful who we bring with us. And that, I think, is where some of the legal questions in this case come from, is what did the passengers know? We know about the waivers that they signed. How specific were they in detailing the risks that they were undertaking and doing something that very few people on the planet get the opportunity to and even want to do, frankly? I mean, I'll leave that to Mark and these guys to do because I'm not interested. And I realize I only know this much of the risk and I don't want to do it. So I am interested in finding more out about what they knew and how this happened and how it could have been prevented. But there are so many questions that we still don't have answers to.
So let's go right to it, Peter. And you can now use hashtag lawyer you know, hashtag hey Mark, hashtag hey JB, and we're going to start to spotlight your comments on screen so that we can answer these legal questions because they are complicated. I wouldn't even know where to begin with something like this. But Peter, you've been digesting this now over the last 24 hours, really since that press conference yesterday. What is your top legal question? What's something that's on your mind that you're focused on?
In everything that we have seen and heard from people that were passengers in the past, from the CEO and interviews he did prior to making this trip, how was this explained to the passengers? We know that the waivers mentioned death multiple times. They explained that there's risk of serious bodily injury, that this was not certified, that this was not tested by other people, and they waive all risk, and they hold OceanGate harmless in every boilerplate language you possibly could that we've seen in waivers forever, since waivers have become a thing, which again was because of the judicial system that we even put waivers in place so that people would walk into situations with eyes wide open and they would be informed of what they were walking into. But some of the language is vague, like the risks were explained to us, but not detailed in the waiver. So how were the risks explained? And the only context we really have is from interviews from the CEO where he said this is unsinkable, just like the Titanic. And when he's done testing it, it's going to be ready to rock and roll. And we've all seen the controller, the Logitech controller in the Camp World Light and other things that may be concerning to your average person. But from passengers that have been on this before, they say, we knew the risk. We knew what we were walking into. we understood that we could die. Yet they all qualify it with, but they had done 25 dives before. Nobody had ever been hurt. Nobody had ever died. It's been going for 3 years. So in my head, I figured it's safe if they're going to let journalists go on it, if they're going to let these wealthy people go on it. They wouldn't do it if it wasn't safe. So what did they really know is the big legal question.
Mark, do you want to hop in here? Is there anything as far as the waiver process, verbally what is told to the passengers? Peter's bringing up some good points here. Do you want to hop in?
Yeah, I've got a comment on that, and I think, and let me clarify this: I'm a complete idiot when it comes to the law, but I will tell you that I agree with his comment on the waiver. That okay, yes, it says that it's been that you're getting in a one-off experimental vehicle that hasn't been classified or certified by any regulatory body. Seems pretty cut and dried, yeah? But the average person, I don't think, has any comprehension of what that statement really means. Okay, I might die. But as Pete said, okay, well, they've been down 20, 25, 28, whatever, how many dives they've made. Nobody's been killed, nobody's been scarred, nobody's been, but for somebody who does what I do, I'm inherently familiar with what that warning means, and would refuse to step in it if it's, because I know what the risks are, and obviously you haven't addressed all of them because you haven't had anybody check your work. That's probably as critical as I've been of OceanGate. But yeah, I mean, I think for the average person, I don't think that wording, and I don't know what else they told them. I don't know if they explained it verbally or anything else, but it's really hard for the layperson to understand just how many things can go wrong. And it only takes one.
Let's get to this question first because it's the most prevalent, Peter, in our comment section. And I'm sure, Mark, we'll have more conversations about what was communicated, the waiver process. There's a lot to break down over this next half hour. Really, we're now down to about 20, 25 minutes. But Dexter82 says, #HJB, to whom the jurisdiction of the accident belong? This happening in the North Atlantic, Peter, creates some international complications, does it not? Could there be lawsuits in multiple countries?
So the answer is, of course, it depends. There's probably going to be fights about this, but in the waiver, the copy of the waiver that I have seen, the choice of law is actually the Bahamas. So that could be where we start based on OceanGate's waiver and documentation that I've seen so far. That's my best guess just based on that.
And why the Bahamas?
I have no idea. It's choice of law. So when you're writing a document, you can put in there that if you're going to sue us, then we choose this venue and jurisdiction. And if they sign it, they're agreeing.
Wait, so yeah, if you don't know why, is there some legal advantage that could be, that would be more beneficial, or is there a financial reason as to why you would want it out of the Bahamas as far as jurisdictionally?
That is outside my scope of knowledge. Wow. I don't know. Yeah, I've never seen that before.
That's now, was that something that raised your eyebrow when you saw that?
I mean, I just don't know what the benefit is of the Bahamas, but if there is, I would guess it would be beneficial to OceanGate since they're the ones that chose that choice of law, but it's not uncommon. That might just be where they have their lawyers that they work with and maybe where one of them lives.
Right.
I don't know the answer. Those are the normal reasons from choosing the jurisdiction you want these cases to happen in.
Mark, any idea for you as to why the Bahamas would be on the waiver?
I can do a little bit of speculation. The Bahamas used to be known as a flag of convenience, along with, you've heard ships that are flagged in Liberia, that kind of thing. And part of that has to do with the regulations about classification and certification. If you're flying a U.S. flag on your ship, and you're conducting interstate commerce, then every member of your crew has to be a U.S. citizen. If you go foreign. If you go internationally, when you get to the other country, wherever you're going, you can do a crew change for people that are not U.S. citizens, but the captain has to be a U.S. citizen, no matter what, no matter where you are in the world. If you're flying an American flag on your ship, the captain has to be a U.S. citizen. And when you come back to the U.S., if you have foreign nationals that are crew members, you have to replace them with U.S. citizens. The UK has its own certain set of rules. Spain has its set of rules. Panama has its set of rules. Some are more lenient than others, and that may be one of the reasons why they chose the Bahamas, because of classification, or that, again, that's just pure speculation from a non-lawyer.
To quote a journalist that I follow and admire tremendously, but as far as questions being asked like that, a wise man once said, the answer is always money. And I don't know if that's necessarily true in this case, but could there have been I'm just opining, could there have been, I'm asking the question, a financial reason as to why the Bahamas specifically was selected? But let's move on to Strode's comment. Hashtags for you and I, Peter. Does the waiver really mean anything? Can a company really sign away liability?
So yes, the waiver does mean something, and yes, you can sign away liability, but you have to do it the right way. There's a lot of ways to get around waivers. There's fraud, if there's concealment, if there's gross negligence to certain levels, if it's not a knowing waiver and they don't understand or weren't told all the risks that they were waiving. And just talking about choice of law and how important that is, there are certain states in the United States that don't recognize liability waivers like this at all.
Wow.
So depending on what state you choose, obviously, most companies aren't going to choose that state for their choice of law, but it does make a huge difference. And I'm not an expert on Bahamian law, so I don't know what the benefits there are, but I would assume there are benefits to choosing that venue.
Yeah, and why the very first question that we had on this particular section of the stream about jurisdiction is so important, because every jurisdiction just follows its own sort of rules, policies, procedures. Carly wants to know, really, this is the money question, Peter. Families cannot sue beyond the waivers, can they? Or is there an avenue for a lawsuit as far as the families specifically go?
So if you just think about it this way, almost every time you have a surgery, every time you go to an amusement park, every time you get on a plane, every time you do these things, you're signing waivers, you're agreeing to things, you're agreeing not to sue for certain things. But we see lawsuits all the time in plane crashes and when roller coasters go bad or a harness breaks. And we see, medical malpractice cases where they cut off the wrong limb or whatever it is, even when waivers are signed. So lawsuits still happen because there are still protections in place for people, even if they sign waivers. You can't just do something grossly negligent. You can't fail to maintain something. You can't fail to fix a known risk that is likely to lead to serious injury or death. You can't just do that stuff because somebody signed a waiver. So you're still able to sue, even though there are waivers in place, unless you did everything you could to maintain something in a reasonably safe condition. And that very well could have happened in this case because it seemed to be a pressure implosion, which is a known risk. And there could be some that they did absolutely nothing wrong. And the fact that they had a Logitech controller has nothing to do with how this catastrophe and tragedy happened in this case. And that could very well be the case. We don't have all the details, but as Mark and I were discussing off screen, I would assume a reconstruction of some sort is going to happen. Experts are going to look at this and they're going to figure out exactly why and how this happened.
Interactive journalism here at play, and we're going to feature at least a comment that includes a source. This is, again, according to one of our commenters on YouTube Live. Yes, YouTube Live, #KJB. Apparently, Bahamas Maritime is ranked among the top shipping registries with over 64 million gross tons of ships. Source, London International Shipping Week. So clearly, this might not be something that is so strange after all. We brought up this point, Mark, you and I previously. I'm going to bring Jake's comment in to get Peter's perspective on this with the legal sort of situation moving forward now, especially. Jake wants to know, is OceanGate finished as a company after this incident? Mark said unequivocally yes. What do you think, Peter?
So from a lawsuit perspective, I have heard that they were not able to get insurance, which is not surprising to me with all the issues that we've heard. So even if they were to fold or go bankrupt, lawsuits, insurance would still cover and pay out if there was insurance. because there's not, lawsuits would likely bankrupt a company like this. Because it seems like it's a pretty small community, my guess is nobody would really want to work with them anymore. But I also wouldn't be surprised if all the people that were working at OceanGate end up at a similar company, because they are so specialized, because they have experience doing things that not a lot of people in the world can or have done in the past, that it wouldn't surprise me at all if they resurfaced somewhere else. But I don't understand how anybody would go with OceanGate on any future excursions or explorations like this. That would shock me.
Right. That the trust has really been shattered, of course. This is a great question from Obey Chels. Phenomenal question about chronologically how this falls now. Lawyer, hey, JB, will lawsuits have to wait until an investigative report is done, Peter?
Have to wait is very specific, and I would say no, they don't have to wait, but they should. I mean, they have to have a reasonable basis for why they're filing their lawsuit. Some of that, again, can be based off what people were told, what they knew, whether they understood the risks, was there any coercion or fraud or concealment. You might be able to find that out without an investigative report. I would say it would be foolish to file any lawsuits or do anything before you actually have the information from some sort of investigative report involving experts that can explain exactly what went wrong and how the company should have handled things differently.
Right. The investigative report is going to provide a lot more clarity, considering that there's so much that we still don't know about what actually happened down there. We know that an implosion happened, but as far as what led to that implosion, what the weakness was, what the failure was, and what went wrong exactly, that will be pending a very complicated and I'm sure elongated investigation. Let's go to this comment because it's also great. And again, a reminder that the youngest on board this expedition was 19-year-old Suleiman Dawood. And Ruby asks, Peter, in relation to Suleiman, can a 19-year-old really know about the risks signed away by the waiver? And I wonder, there's different ages in different countries, right, where you are considered an adult, where you can sign instead of having a parent or guardian sign for you. So I wonder in the Bahamas if there's a certain age where you are considered an adult and when you can sign a legally binding document like that. But what do you say to Ruby's comment?
Yeah, I don't know that answer about the different jurisdictions, but most places 18 is an adult. And if he is an adult, then yes, he can sign waivers. He can understand risks. He can make a knowing waiver of his rights to sue them. He can. Does that mean he did? Does that mean he actually had the knowledge? And that's a different question. And that's something that would potentially be a question for a judge or a jury in the future.
For what it's worth, just a quick search on Google. Let's bring Peter back on screen. That the adult age is apparently, from what I'm seeing, initial search, it appears to be 18 years old in the Bahamas. So if there's any change on that, or if anybody wants to fact check me on that, please feel free in our comment section. Let's continue the conversation. Mark, anything to note as we continue to hear from Peter as far as the legal future here?
I agree with Peter's comments in that a lot of the people that are working at OceanGate are going to be able, although again, this is a very small community. The community of explorers is small. The community of people who provide the vehicles for those explorers is even smaller. Some of those people are probably going to be able to find some jobs, if not in submersibles, then maybe in some shipbuilding capacity or something like that. Again, it's a legal question. My personal opinion from a business standpoint is, I think that they're in deep trouble.
I want to get both of these on screen really quickly because they're about to disappear on my screen, scrolling up so fast, but we'll get both of these on. Greg Watts says, #KJB, to me, being certified, not being certified is negligence. This is a great, interesting sort of point to introduce into our conversation here. That one has now disappeared. And before I lose Haley says, #KJB, hashtag lawyer, with the CEO being in the sub, who would be held responsible? Let's start here and then go to the certification question next. Peter, we obviously there's a hierarchy with OceanGate, but can we answer Haley's question?
I think it's owned by OceanGate Inc. So it would be the actual company that would be held responsible. Potentially, there are people in the company that are making decisions that could be held responsible. If they have insurance, again, that's something that would attach in a situation like this. So, I mean, just having the CEO on board does not absolve the company. Obviously, to me, though, that is a big part of the puzzle or piece of the puzzle. He believed it was safe. He believed everything was fine. He believed that they weren't going to implode, or he would not have put his own life at risk building this sub to go down. So his waiver was knowing. But was anybody else's? That's the question. I think you go down the line and everybody has a different knowledge base going into this and knew different factors and understood things differently. So maybe the 19-year-old kid did not have the same knowledge as obviously the CEO of the company. So those cases would be handled very differently. And
let's also remind our audience that Mark here knew Stockton Russian Life, the CEO of OceanGate that we are referencing with this comment. And as far as his confidence level, Mark, it was stated in many reports. You have communicated it here on stream. This is somebody who thought that this really would never happen. At least he said that. At least he indicated that publicly.
Well, and as Peter said, if he believed otherwise, he wouldn't have climbed inside. Do I think his confidence was misplaced? Yes. Do I think he believed it? Yeah. Why would you climb into something? Why would you climb into something that you thought was a death trap?
Exactly.
Unless you're intent on committing suicide.
Yeah. Our two guests here very much on the same page. Peter Tragos, the lawyer, of course, he has his YouTube channel, his social media accounts where he provides legal analysis and does live streams very similar to this one as far as answering questions from people. Peter has been on stream with us before many times. Mark Martin, sort of a newer guest who joined us for 5+ hours yesterday here on stream. We have Peter, if it's okay, another 10 minutes, if that's all right, before we go.
I've got 5.
Okay, let's do 5 and try to at least get this the certification question answered before we wrap up with Peter. But this is also, Mark, this also is something that you could perhaps chime in on here about. The previous question that I can no longer animate because it has faded into non-existence was about the fact that it was a non-certified vessel. Peter, how does that fit into the equation legally?
It's definitely a big piece of the puzzle, but that was referenced in the waiver. So the fact that it was not certified itself is not going to be something that you can bet your whole lawsuit on. The real question is, what does that mean? Did they explain what that meant? Did they explain how risky that makes it? Or did they just tell them, yeah, we didn't need to get it certified to go down there. It wasn't a big deal. Why would we need to get it certified if we can make this trip without certification? Which I've heard explanations like that as well. So it really depends on how they explained the reason why they didn't get certified and what testing they didn't have to do and what parts they may have had to use if they would have gotten it certified.
Peter Tragos, the lawyer, Peter, I don't want to overextend you here. So what I'm going to do is give you an opportunity here. I think you've already done some content on your channel talking about this. And with obviously, this is going to be a story that is going to unfold not over hours or days, but weeks, months, years. So as far as people that have more legal questions about this going forward, do you have any live streams planned, and how can people follow you?
Yeah, I'm planning on doing some live streams, going through the waiver at some point today, and just kind of following along if legal things come up. I'm not going to try to explain the science behind it or how all of this works on my channel. We try to stick to the legal questions and what could happen in a court of law and in different judicial systems. So if you're interested in that, check out the lawyer at Tragos Law and all social media stuff. Would love to hear what you guys have to think about it and see if I can answer your questions. And I will definitely be back on here with JB in the future.
Yeah, and quick check, because I one more question. How you doing? You're all right these days? You and I, we've chatted here and there over the last several months. It's hot here in Florida. You hanging out, doing your golf thing?
I'm great, man. I've been playing a lot of pickleball, a lot of golf, getting out there in the sauna that is the outdoors of Florida. Yeah, man, I'm great. I'm great.
Peter right here with us in the Tampa Bay area. Of course, friend of the program. Peter, thanks for popping on, man, and hope to chat with you soon. I'm sure we'll be on stream again before you know it.
Thanks for
Nice
having
to
me, man.
meet you, Peter.
Great to meet you, Mark.
Yep.
Thanks.
Peter Tragos, Mark Martin, JB here with you, and of course you can follow Peter on the lawyer on his social media channels. We are going to begin to wrap up here with myself and Mark Martin. And this is what will likely be our final live stream of the week. And what we're going to try to do is just get people have been, putting in the comments section, Mark, repeatedly, get this one last question into Mark, this one final question in if possible. So I don't want to shut those people out. I don't want to hang up on those people, so to speak. While Mark here has another few minutes, let's just quickly go through some of the final hashtag Hey Mark, hashtag Hey JB questions of the week. Regarding this story. We have done, I've lost count of how many hours we have been on stream from Monday to now, but it's been a lot. It's going to be our last live Q&A here over these next few minutes of the week. So we'll try to get some good questions that haven't been answered yet or addressed yet. Mark, any thoughts while I wait for these final questions and comments to come in?
No, it's been a tough week.
Yeah.
As I said, sometime yesterday or the day before. It's always a sad day when you lose people, especially somebody like PH. You do inherently dangerous things, and sooner or later, something's going to go wrong. Could some things have been mitigated? Obviously, the consensus is yes. I'm not well versed enough in all of it to put out my private opinions at this point in time. I want to get some more information. I want to talk to some more of my inner circle, see what their general consensus is, and see if they've got any information I don't have. But it's been a tough week. We lost 5 people. I think the one that affects me the most is probably the 19-year-old.
Yeah.
That's it, I guess.
I've been thinking about the 19-year-old as well. I've been thinking about all the families, but this is a double loss for the Dawood family and a father and son. I can't imagine what that is like for them. And we had a moment of silence. We had a thoughts and prayers moment for an extended thoughts and prayers kind of conversation with our audience yesterday on stream. And so let me just again reiterate, and we'll end our stream by honoring them, but let me just reiterate how much our thoughts and prayers here are with those families, because I've noted in the past about how I've had some days in my life that their tragedies should never be compared in any way, shape, or form. But when you are living through a very dark experience in your own life, you never wish that upon anybody else. And so I can just say that I can't imagine what this family is going through, what all the families are going through, and our thoughts and prayers are with them. And I mean that with all the sincerity in the world. I mean it. Emil, this is perhaps a good final question to bring on screen. Although if I see, I'll try to get maybe some others, but I know that this one is going to launch us into a conversation that could be extended. So Emil says, hashtag HJB and Mark, what key thing do you think we learned from this event, which we can take away as an important lesson for the future? I have an answer to this. We're both hashtagged here. My answer means very little compared to yours, Mark. What is the key thing do you think that we learned to answer Emil's question?
I think that the key thing that we learned is that, deep ocean exploration has been marked by pioneers since 1960, when Don Walsh and Jacques Piccard took a 7-foot diameter sphere hung underneath a big tank of aviation gas down to the deepest part of the ocean and made it back alive. How crazy do you have to be? and Don Walsh is the deep submergence god. We're pioneers. We push the envelope. We try to mitigate the risk. The rules are there for a reason, but but the rules can't stifle innovation either. And I've refrained from this in the past, but I guess it's time. Stockton was proud of breaking the rules because he felt like it stifled innovation. And what I wish is that he would have been able to find a way to be an innovator and still stay within the rules. I understand that it would have taken, several extra years because he was using new material with a new design and all of that. But what I think that we need to do is come up with some way that we can use common sense safety and protocols and rules without overduly stifling innovation, because that's what exploration is. It's innovation. That's how you get to places that nobody's been before, is because you've done something that nobody else has done before, or you've applied things in a way that nobody has done before. So that's my biggest take on it is can we come up with a way that experimental craft that show innovation can somehow be integrated into the certification and classification process, if it's nothing more than having an experienced third party. That's my big thing, is that you can't get to some place that nobody's been before without doing something that nobody's done before. But you got to do it in a smart way.
I'll get into my response here in a second, but do you think that how much will be learned when we have a final investigative report, a conclusive report, and more in-depth analysis as to what exactly happened on Sunday?
I think that what the experts in the field will learn is exactly what happened, exactly what feature or element or item failed to cause this catastrophic event. The general consensus in the community is that this was a when, not if event. I haven't said that before, where I guess we're at the point where I feel okay doing it. But a lot of experts in the field felt that this was a when is this going to happen, not if this is going to happen. So really what the experts in the field, now the general public is going to learn a lot of things that they never knew about before, but the experts in the field are going to learn exactly what went wrong. And hopefully that will help us better design and develop newer vehicles.
10-4. My response to this is, and it was immediate in my mind when I read the question, and apologize. I'm going to apologize for perhaps some people that might find the answer to be a little bit cheesy. But we're going to learn a lot from this going forward, I'm sure, in Mark's community, as far as from an engineering perspective, how to better build underwater deep sea exploration vehicles, and how to go about exploring the depths of our world safely, both manned and unmanned, how we explore more of the ocean, which we, of course, is so vast and unexplored. My gut reaction to reading this question was, there is so much goodwill in the world. I think really the amount of headline, activity, news coverage that has been paid to I think that there needs to be more people speaking about how heroic of an operation this aimed to be. There was a lot of different nations, private organizations, human beings that did everything they could to get to this spot with a lot of different equipment, a lot of different technology, and a lot of different expertise and experience, bringing it all together in one unified spot in one of the most remote places on the planet as far as active shipwrecks that get. I know that there are more remote places. Believe me, I'm not that naive, but this is an extremely remote place and with harsh conditions, both at the surface, even though we know that the weather was optimal on certain days, but especially under the surface, we're talking about extremely challenging conditions. The word complex was put out by the Coast Guard over and over and over again about the complexities that existed with this type of search and rescue, and then subsequently search and recovery operation. All the individuals, even though the rescue operation was never really believed to be possible because, of course, this catastrophic explosion was believed to have occurred on the way down, that should not discredit and discount, and we should not forget about the incredible heroic efforts of the people that all converged from different nations, different companies, all coming to one place for 1 week, trying to do something to save lives. And I think that that has kind of been lost in the last 24 hours, and I hope that people at least remember that. I've been thinking about it. I've been thinking about those crews, how deflating it must be to have gotten that news yesterday. But it's a lot of human beings, a lot of men and women working hard and stopping everything going on in their lives to try to bring this to a happy ending. And just because we didn't get the happy ending that we wanted doesn't mean that we forget about those efforts. And that's my long rant and answer to this question, because this could have been a heroic effort, and people would have celebrated the men and women that made it out there to the wreckage of the RMS Titanic, of course 2.5 miles up at the surface. But just because we didn't find the 5 people alive doesn't mean that we should forget about those efforts, Mark.
I'd like to make a comment about that.
Sure.
I think that your comment and my comment really show the different aspects that we have. I'm thinking of it from a technical aspect.
Sure. Yeah.
You're thinking of it from a reporter, but I will tell you that in the events that we've had in the past, like the Kursk, like the Argentinian submarine, like some of the other non-maritime related, that's what always happens. Different countries all come together. They put their issues aside, and they work together as a group to solve the problem at hand. And yes, I agree with that completely.
Wouldn't you agree that's inspiring, Mark, to see that?
It is, because with all the crappy news going on, it's nice to see people put their differences aside and all try to work together towards one goal.
Yep.
And if we could as a human race figure out how to do that a little more often.
That's right.
As opposed to stabbing each other in the back and throwing stones all the time, every time somebody didn't agree with, your thought or your opinion, life would be a lot easier.
And you know what, Mark? Maybe I'm just so sick and tired of how how divisive things have been in our country of more and more so over the years.
Oh yeah, and I get to turn that off.
Yeah, it's
when I'm sick and tired of it, I can turn it off. You do it for a living. You can't get away from it.
It's not. I'm not breaking any news or breaking any rules by saying that our country has become more polarized in years past. And I think perhaps my mind went to that answer just because to see multiple different types, people from all different kinds of backgrounds, from all different kinds of countries and public, governmental agencies, private organizations, everyone just kind of come together for one unified cause.
It's sad that it takes tragedies to get everybody to do that. 9/11 was a great example. Everybody was at everybody's throats. 9/11 happened and the whole country came together. And then 10, 15 years later, oh look, we're starting to split up again. it seems like it takes a tragedy to bring us all together, and it works for a while, and then if we don't have another tragedy that brings us all together, we start acting out again.
But you know what, to that point, and just because I'm curious, you know, as far as your field, deep sea exploration, underwater, going to the depths of the world, is there that divisiveness, or is it more of a global effort?
No.
As far no, yeah, explain.
No. Because
when you say no, it's not a global effort, or it is a global effort?
No, it is a global
Right.
effort. There's okay. Is there a little bit of infighting between specific individuals on an occasion? Yes, we're human beings, but the community as a whole works together for basically a common goal, which is deep ocean exploration. And it doesn't matter whether you're Russian or American or Canadian or Australian, or, if it's your business, then, is there some competition? Yeah, but you don't really see cutthroat competition in this community. You'll see healthy competition. Some guy develops something new and he patents it and he uses it for however long, but as soon as that patent's up, then people are willing to share it. And even without patenting something, people come up with new ideas and they get shared, and okay, well, I came up with this idea, but it might be able to help you. And it does, and it's a back and forth kind of thing. And again, it doesn't matter whether you're Japanese or Russian or Australian or Canadian or, whatever. This community, and maybe it's because the community is so small and so specialized that everybody knows everybody else. And you know that if you step on this guy's toes, then somebody else is going to step on your toes down the road. If it's not him, it'll be somebody else. So and I'm not saying that getting your toes not stepped on is the motivation. It's just we know how hard this is, and we know we can't do it by ourselves. It takes everybody. And, some people contribute more than others. But it is a global community where you very rarely see any infighting.
You got room for one more?
And there's some pretty big egos in this community.
We appreciate how much insight you have brought. Before we do our official wrap, again, Mark Martin, retired U.S. Navy submariner, folks, knows two of the people, had a connection to two of the people here on your screen as we look at their pictures, and we'll read their names. Shahzada Dawood, Suleiman Dawood, Paul Henry Nargileh, Stockton Rush, and Hamish Harding, all passing away, presumed dead, after, of course, the catastrophic implosion that occurred on the way down in the Titan submersible tragedy this past Sunday. Your chance, Mark, this is our last opportunity to do so, to just kind of speak to the five victims, the five people that we lost here in this tragedy.
Yeah, I think I said it yesterday. There were a couple of people that made this comment that knew PH even better than I did. Out of the whole group, he's the one that probably would feel that this is a fitting resting place for him. He loved going to the Titanic. He knew more about it than anybody else. He was doing what he loved doing, and if you gotta go, that's the way to go. My heart goes out to the families of everybody else involved. I've already expressed my sympathies to PH's son, and not much else I can do about it. But yeah, it's been a sad week. It's been obviously an exciting week. It's been a busy week. Hopefully some positive things will be taken out of this. I expect the next several days Unfortunately, in the news could be ugly. Again, there's human nature. There's going to be criticisms and finger pointing, and hopefully the people that know what the hell's going on can manage that, and we can all come out of this for the better.
Us here at WFLA also pass along our thoughts and prayers, our condolences to these families. This is of course this has been a difficult, doesn't even begin to describe what it must be like for these families and those who know the five. But of course, we tried to do our very best to treat, of course, our coverage with as much sincerity, respect, and dignity as possible. And we know that sometimes these live streams, and we know from previous stories that we've done, people connected to those individuals that we talk about so often on stream, they find our live streams. And so we hope sincerely that we did our very best as far as being as respectful as possible, being and more just as important, being as accurate with our reporting, being as thorough with our reporting, because misinformation is a weed. And we, of course, we take the credibility of our organization extremely seriously. So we try to, of course, report with accuracy and warmth. And hopefully we were able to do that over the course of our streaming coverage this week. Mark, this is I have to stay on stream for a little bit longer just to make some final points. This is a farewell to you, my friend. What an honor it has been to have you on this live stream all week. There is an enormous amount of people out there that appreciate you. And it's not even just directly on our live streams, because what's happening, again, people are taking clips from this live stream, posting them to like TikTok and Instagram and other platforms. And people are saying, who is this Mark Martin guy? And thinking, really looking at you as the voice of reason over the course of this week, as far as being a steady, calm, and also just extremely experienced voice throughout this entire process. We can't thank you enough for joining us on stream.
I appreciate it. I certainly appreciate the way that you and the rest of the team has treated me, and hopefully I've helped.
You most certainly have. I can pass along from our commenters here the amount of thank you comments. Look, Mark, I know that you're not a techie, so let me explain. Go to the YouTube live in the hour. It takes a few hours for it to process, but hours after the YouTube live, go into the comment section, whether it's the live chat replay or go into the comments below. And believe me, you will see exactly what I'm talking about. As far as some of the response, people who appreciate you and think of you as somebody who provided them with a lot of answers at a time when there was a ton of confusion out there. So a huge thank you again. And I'm going to share something out on Twitter later on tonight. Chelsea, one of our this is interesting. With Chelsea, one of our
Chelsea talks a lot.
Chelsea talks a lot. One of our moderators, and a shout out to Michelle Widener, Makeup by Rocky, a few others, our great YouTube moderation team. Chelsea found your Instagram and linked it. So
now I just got to figure out how to get on it.
People are gonna, which is so hilarious, because if that is the real, it was DSV Pilot 1, I think it was.
I think that's what it was.
Hold on, I gotta click this link. Is this your Instagram? Because you might gain some follow. I know that you haven't asked for it once. You haven't asked for it, which has been, but you're getting a lot of followers on Instagram.
Yeah, I don't even know what the hell that is. So.
Well, it was as I am usually
on.
Oh
Jesus! All right, the real okay.
Yeah,
yeah.
I'm sure.
Okay. It's people are sending me messages. Okay.
Mark, I hope you don't take offense to this. One of our team members here at WFLA said that perhaps one of the reasons why people find you to be so relatable is that you come across as everyone's uncle. Have you ever heard anything like that? You ever heard anything like that?
That might be the nicest names anybody's called me in a long time.
Okay, yeah. I'll let you. It might take some time. And you know what? When you're in Tampa, we'll have our Instagram chat, you and I, and I'll maybe show you a couple of tricks. All right.
Okay,
I'm
yeah,
no,
because
I'm
I
no,
can kind of sort of get into some of them, but yeah.
welcome to a little bit of my world as far
You
as
teach
social
me
media.
about Twitter, and I'll teach you about Scotch.
Yeah,
There we
man,
go.
it'd be great to tank up one day and go on a dive together. That would be awesome. That would be awesome. But Mark, I'm sure I look forward to meeting you in person next week when you're in the Tampa Bay area. Thanks again, and all the best to you, my friend. I'm sure we'll talk off stream.
Thanks. Anytime anytime, just give me a shout. And if
We'll
I'm
do.
available, I'm there for you, man.
We'll do. Mark
All right.
Martin, everybody.
Thanks.
Retired U.S. Navy submariner who we can now say has done 8 hours of coverage over 2 days with us here on stream. He was originally scheduled for 1 hour, but his expertise so invaluable, and also too, his people were commenting yesterday when he was gone on YouTube Live, Facebook Live. I kept looking over, and it wasn't even with a hashtag, but I just saw 3 words: bring Mark back. And so I kept inviting him, and he kept coming back on. And so we appreciate Mark's time. Let me explain now how this is going to go forward. I have a bit of an explanation to make. Over the course of this week, Monday through Friday, people have been asking in our comment section. A lot of comments have come in. JB, why do you never take my comment? JB, what? I've been commenting for days. Why hasn't my comment or my question been featured on screen? Let me explain something that might seem very basic, but and it is somewhat basic. But let me please explain. When we have the volume of traffic, the volume of comments that we have had come in, it makes the interactivity part a little bit more complicated, because on my screen, comments are scrolling in so immensely fast, so quickly. And so the more and more that we have a vibrant comment section, the more and more it becomes more of a lottery as far as getting your comment on screen. You might have had the most brilliant question or comment, but because of how quickly they've been scrolling on my screen, there is a chance that I missed it. And my apologies to you. It is not interactivity, and interactive journalism is not a perfect system. It's not a perfect format. It's a forward-thinking format, but it is not perfect. And so if you've been one of those people trying to get your comment spotlighted on our stream so that it can be featured in our conversations, I will do my very best in the future to try to spotlight more and more comments. Sometimes the conversations can be long-winded. The answers can be long-winded. I can be long-winded. And so we want to get more comments on screen, but it's always trying to carry the conversation forward. And always remind yourself, too, if you've been repeatedly asking a question in our comment section and I haven't clicked on it, perhaps the reason is because we might have already answered that question before you hopped on the stream. There's always that chance as well. I am not going to continuously answer the same question or pose the same question over and over and over again. So that's a little bit of an explanation as to the interactivity part. Of course, I talked yesterday about how interactive journalism is being practiced here at WFLA. It is a major part of the WFLA Now Stream Center and our operation as far as WFLA.com, our digital operation. If you would like to provide feedback on how we're doing, how we can improve interactivity, as I'm talking about, what we can do to make the viewing experience more interactive and more just better for you overall, you can shoot comments to either the newsroom and really the news managers at WFLA. Any feedback, good, bad, or ugly, it doesn't matter. You can shoot that feedback over to news@WFLA.com, news@WFLA.com. And let me explain again, the feedback is so important because whether it's good, whether it's bad, it helps shape our coverage in the future. The next time that we're on stream, your feedback might influence how we try to go about our coverage. So that feedback component is so important. And while I've said it multiple times this week, I have to repeat it, because if we don't get feedback from you, our audience, after our streams are over, then it inhibits our ability to improve in the future. If you want to send a comment to me directly, you can DM me on one of my Instagram or social media platforms on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. I have to get caught up on those messages because I have been so focused on Titan sub coverage, eating, hydrating, and sleeping, and that's basically been my life this week. You can ask at home my wife. That has basically been my life this week. So I have a lot of DMs to catch up on, a lot of emails to catch up on. If you want to email me directly, if there was a question that you wanted to pose that was not featured on one of our live streams, you can email me at heyjb@wfla.com. News@wfla.com goes out to the powers that be. heyjb@wfla.com goes directly to me. So depending on how you want to provide feedback or if you want to get in touch with us here at WFLA. One more time, really appreciate the efforts of our YouTube moderators. Our YouTube moderators help keep our comment section respectful and on point and eliminating the trolls. And we appreciate their volunteer work as far as helping us out and doing what they can to make sure that our comment section is welcoming. Michelle, where are they? Guys, comment, and I'll give you guys a shout out. Chelsea Talks a Lot is here on YouTube. Michelle Widener, who helps lead our moderation team, does a great job. Makeup by Rocky, I see here as well. Team Brittany is there. Our mods are just... they do this out of the kindness of their heart and because they believe in what we do here as far as interactive journalism. They're some of the biggest fans of what we do here at WFLA. So they deserve a lot of credit. And they are part of our team, our stream team here. So thank you so much to them as well. This has been a very difficult week, of course. And so what I would like to do is I would like to end here with a moment of silence for once again the 5 passengers that were on board the Titan submersible, and I will again read their names here on screen, and then we will be ending our streaming coverage. And again, you know how to communicate with me going forward, whether it's by email or DM or following me on social media for when the next live stream is going to be. I'm at WFLA on all social media platforms if you're trying to get a hold of me, or you can email me at heyjb.com. But I want to end out this live stream by having a moment of silence for the 5 passengers. The 5 passengers, a father and son duo, Shahzada Dawood, Suleiman Dawood, Paul Henry Nargile, Stockton Rush, Hamish Harding. Our thoughts and prayers are with their families, and this is a moment of silence in memoriam of them. Thank you for watching.